I reviewed all of the Land Before Time movies. What's next? I've got to review all the episodes of the Land Before Time TV show. Obviously, the first episode of the show is called Cave of Many Voices, I think. The premise is that, hey, it was raining, so now Chomper and Ruby need to find a new home inside the cave system. And that was weird. It was a weird way to introduce Chomper and Ruby. Like, we know who Chomper is from the movies, but it's still kind of weird just to be told, hey, Chomper's parents sent him to live in the Great Valley. It's like, what? Why? Last we heard, they were living on the mysterious island, super far away. Why are they abandoning their son? And that's the only explanation we get. It's like, oh, okay. They're letting him live in the Great Valley now, but he has to hide in the cave system. It sounds like maybe the adult dinosaurs are aware of the fact that Chomper's around. I don't know about Ruby. I don't know her backstory. She's a new character. She's the new main character of the series. And she has a distinct way of talking. Her way of talking is distinct. She repeats herself like that. And I'm sure she'll grow on me, but I wish we had a bit more explanation for who she is and why she is now, like, Chomper's full-time babysitter. Because, like, I'm thinking, could we do this episode without Ruby? And the answer would be yes, because Sarah would definitely play Ducky's role. Play Ruby's role, that is, she's the mentor to Ducky. Ducky's feeling sad and a little shy because she's so tiny, and Ruby teaches her to talk big. Talk big. We are talking big. And that's a song. There's a new song. And that song was okay. I guess it sounds like yakety yak. Yakety yak goes like this. Open the door, take out the trash. Do, 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 do. You don't get no spending cash. Do, 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 do. Talking big goes like this. Fill your belly big with air. Do, 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 do. And you let it go from there. Do, 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 do. You see, they've got like the exact same beat in between the different lines of the song. The other song is Adventuring, and it's fine. We've heard that it wasn't a Land Before Time movie, and it's going to be played a lot in this TV series, but they basically Weird Al the songs. So they took the pre-existing song and they sort of changed the lyrics, and it didn't quite work, but it was close enough, so I won't complain. We get to meet the new villains of the series, which is Red Claw and the Fast Spiders. And Red Claw looks great. This is a really cool looking T-Rex. Although, because he appears in like every episode and gets beaten by the kids every episode, he's really coming across as like kind of an inefficient, dumb villain. So what happens is they're exploring the caves, trying to find a new home for Chomper, and because Chomper's home was destroyed. And the bad guys are walking in the caves. Our heroes do discover the Cave of Many Voices, where, you know, you have a big echo and it sounds like there are lots of voices there. So Ducky uses that to scare the villains. Like, she uses her big voice and it's echoing, 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 so it sounds like there's a bunch of big voices scaring them. And Ducky's able to reach the cave because she's so tiny, and she realized, hey, that's great. I'm tiny. That helped me defeat the bad guys. Maybe being tiny is not so bad after all, which is a perfectly fine message. And I thought it was weird at the end how Chomper gets rid of them because Chomper speaks Sharptooth. And Littlefoot's like, hey, you speak Sharptooth. Just talk to them. Tell them to go away. Tell them there's like a big herd of T-Rexes coming. And Chomper does that. And I'm like, well, Chomper could have just spoken Sharptooth to them at the very beginning. He could have just gone like, rah, 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 whatever Sharptooth is for don't eat me and my friends. Maybe the bad guys wouldn't have listened if he had done that. Maybe that would be like too simple of a solution. But, oh, it's okay for a first episode. I did think it was a little, like, I need some time to get used to Ruby, and I would like a bit more explanation with the Chomper stuff, but perfectly fine. So like sideways thumbs up. It's definitely not bad. It's not the worst way they could have started this series, but it's starting the series. Could you please introduce the two new main characters? Okay, please. The second Land Before Time episode is The Canyon of Shiny Stones, and it's okay. I think I give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. There were some problems, but I really did like the ending with the adults. I did like the storyline with Trisha and Sarah, And there were some really solid jokes, too. So I thought that was all good. The story is basically Sarah accidentally destroys Trish's shiny stone. And so Sarah goes all the way to the Canyon of Shiny Stones to get a new one, only they get in trouble because a volcano explodes. And now the canyon's flooding with water, and they have... Not flooding with water, flooding with lava. And they have to escape. And it's like they're climbing up a log like this. And then we get a shot of the log going, it's like, okay, that's it. They should all fall down and die. And then later on, they get another one where it goes from like, and it's like, okay, that is like a vertical log. How are they not dead? But like Ducky was like on the edge. It was very dramatic, yes. But it's like, if you stop to think about where the log is positioned, gravity is still gravity in dinosaur times. Like, they should all fall off the log and die. And I'm getting the sense that, oh man, Ruby was added to the cast because she has hands. Like, we've got a character with actual hands. That helps out a lot. Sarah can't carry the shiny stone by herself. Like, she does that for the entire episode by, like, balancing it on her nose awkwardly. Like, just have Ruby hold it in her hands. Chomper has hands, too. But then there's a nice ending where the adults come and save them, and Trisha and Sarah do have a genuinely cute moment together. I didn't like the other storyline, which is just kind of weird. The storyline is that Petrie is scared of volcanoes, and specifically flying near volcanoes. He's done that before, so, like... Maybe it's a completely different smoking mountain. Maybe this is a different volcano that he's afraid of. But he's scared of the volcano, so he flies over it, and then it starts rumbling, and he thinks, oh no, I've offended the volcano. It hates me now. And then at the end, he learns that the smoking mountain is just a mountain. And this is treated like a giant revelation. So he can still fly over mountains because they're mountains, even if sometimes they spew lava. I still don't quite get the idea behind this. Like, how is this lesson applicable to young children? Is this a metaphor for something I'm missing? Or is it just... Are we supposed to learn, hey, Petrie's brave because he learned to face his fear and do the thing that he's done many times before in the movies? And, some of the animation in this episode was off. Like, during the song Oops Eeps, which was a decent song. Like, Petrie's dancing like this the whole time, and I thought that was weird. I noticed a couple places where, like, Spike goes, rah, 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 and his head gets larger whenever he opens his mouth. Something like that. Ducky looking strange. Actually kind of liked her looking different because she looked more like an actual dinosaur and less like a cute cartoon character. So I was actually fine with that. The other weirdness with the animation that stuck out to me was just the CGI shots of the kids walking around, which it was weird. It's like, okay, they had like 6 of them, and you could tell that they were CGI models instead of just drawing the kids like you normally do, and it probably cost a lot of money to make the CGI models of them, and to only use them in these really weird long-distance shots is, I don't know, I just thought it was strange. It would have made more sense for them to just reuse animation from the movies. We've got plenty of scenes of the kids walking through scenery without talking, so that would have been fine. But I did like the one shot at the end of Grandma Longneck from inside the cave. That was cool. So that was where we had slightly different animation, and it really did pay off. That was a cool shot. So, yeah, decent episode. So, like I said, like a 6 or a 7 out of 10 is what I'd rate it. Because I like the stuff with Sarah. We did have a cool action finale, even if you think about it, they really should not have escaped. But whatever, it's a cartoon show about talking dinosaurs. Also, the Canyon of Shiny Stones was actually a pretty cool looking location. I wouldn't mind if they went back to it in a different episode. Which they won't because it's been destroyed by lava, which is unfortunate. Yeah, the Great Valley does have a lot of active volcanoes, doesn't it? You think that would disturb the peace of their neighborhood. Episode 3 is the Star Day celebration, and I wish this had been the first episode of the series because it explains Ruby's backstory. We get a lot of flashbacks with Ruby and her family a year ago, and that's what I wanted. It explains who she is and why she's in the Great Valley. I don't want to say her parents abandoned her, but they did just completely give her up. They set her with Chomper to live in the Great Valley and learn how dinosaurs get along. Not sure why Chomper's the guide, not sure why her parents couldn't have come along with them, but whatever. Also, how has Chomper been here in the Great Valley for a full year? He has not aged at all in that year. How slowly do T-Rexes age? Like, this is kind of weird. So, she sings the song Remembering, which was sweet, but I was distracted by an animation goof at the very end where Ducky's sibling has 4 eyes. I'm like, oh, scary. No. So, the story is she's feeling kind of sad because it's her first birthday since she's arrived in the Great Valley. Yeah, her parents abandoned her on her birthday, if you can believe that. So she's feeling sad because it's her birthday. And her friends, they have a little decent action sequence trying to get to this special area where they have the special food that Ruby likes. But Mr. Clubtail's already there, and he's kind of being a jerk, eating all the food. But eventually they convince him to be nice and give up the food to Ruby. And at the end of the song, at the end of the episode, they sing the song, I feel so happy, I want everyone to see. It's like the bright circle is oh no, I can't believe I messed it up. Is shining inside me. Those are the lyrics. So get used to that song because you're going to hear it a lot in this series. I thought it was a decent episode. I did like seeing Ruby's backstory. I think the episode was maybe like 3 or 4 minutes too long. So it felt like they did have to stretch things out a little bit for that. Moving on to the next episode, my notes here say it is called The Mysterious Tooth Crisis. Okay, so the subplot of this episode was not very good, but it ended up being good. So the story is that Tria is taking Sarah, Ruby, and Spike to the mud hole. She's basically giving them a spa day. Spike is hilarious the whole time. Sarah's annoying the whole time. She complains constantly. But when she actually does get in the mud, she realizes she likes it. So that's a nice little moral about trying new things. And a pretty hilarious scene where she's like, oh, relaxed and having a spa day, and it's amazing, you guys. And that was funny. However, I do feel like that was just an excuse to keep Ruby out of the way, because the main story is the mysterious tooth crisis, where Chomper loses, like, this tooth right over here. It falls out, and he's like, oh no, my tooth fell out. And Mr. Threehorn tells Chomper, oh, your tooth fell out? That means you're gonna die today. Before the sun goes down, you're dead, kid. You're dead. And that's not true. That's not true. Like, so it's really weird that the premise of the episode is Mr. Threehorn threatens Chomper with death. We don't know why he says that. Nobody ever asks him about it later. I was expecting him to show up at the very end and say, oh, I was just joking, you know. But no, he's just threatening a little kid. What a jerk. Okay. Not entirely out of character for him, but it's still a jerk move. So they spend the entire episode trying to get to Ruby, because Ruby apparently is a dental expert when it comes to sharp teeth. I mean, okay, she and Chomper have spent the most time together because they journeyed to the Great Valley together, as we saw in the previous episode. Still, it's kind of weird that Ruby is the expert who will solve the situation. And that's why I think she was separated from all the others, is so we could spend the entire episode trying to get to Ruby. And they got chased by bees for like 3 minutes, like it's an episode of Winnie the Pooh. And that was weird. It's like, why is there a bee chase in an episode that Chomper's going to die because he lost his tooth? Oh, man. Oh, Mr. Thicknose returns. Yeah, Mr. Thicknose returns. That's great. Okay, so Mr. Thicknose sings, I will find your tooth. And that's the tall like a tall oak tree, the Thinking Big song from the first episode. They just slapped new lyrics on the song and said, hey, guess what? It's a new song. No one will notice the difference. I noticed. I totally noticed. I actually think this rendition of the song was better because we had like 4 different people singing it all at once. And hey, Mr. Thicknose. Mr. Thicknose is a good singer. Oh man, yeah. I'm sure I'm getting complaints about the episode order, by the way. I'm just going by the order on the DVD, complete DVD set that I have. I'll show that off to you later on in this video. So, they do the same scene twice, which was very strange. This is like a 5-minute scene, and what happens is Chomper is about to fall off a cliff, and he's either going to have to grab the vine to safety or hold on to his tooth. He can't do both. So he's like, no, I don't want to let go of my tooth, but I don't want to fall to my death either. And so what happens is that Petrie comes in, he flies down, he grabs the tooth, and then, that way Chomper can grab the vine with both hands and be pulled to safety. Great. Perfectly fine scene. Not too long later, exact same scene, only now it's quicksand, and instead of a vine, it's Littlefoot's tail. Same setup. Chomper's got his tooth in one hand, his other hand on Littlefoot's tail. It's like, Chomper, you've got to let go of the tooth and grab onto Littlefoot's tail. Chomper's like, I don't want to let go of my tooth. Only this time, Petrie doesn't fly down and grab the tooth. Chomper's forced to let go of his tooth and then grab onto Littlefoot's tail with both hands to save his life. And Littlefoot pulls him out. I thought it was so weird that we had this very specific setup where he's got a tooth in one hand and his other hand's trying to grab something that's pulling him out of danger. They did it twice in a row. But that was weird. It ended differently the second time. Why did Petrie not help like he did the first time? That's kind of a jerk move on Petrie's part. So I think I'd give this episode like a 5 or a 6. It did have its mistakes. Like Sarah got a little annoying. And I don't know why they repeated this 5-minute setup twice in a row. That also the bee chase was kind of weird. So like get rid of one of those and have a scene at the end where Mr. Threehorn explains why he was telling Chomper lies that Chomper's gonna die today, because I feel like they really should have resolved that subplot. The Brave and Longneck scheme is not a bad episode by itself, but I imagine a lot of fans don't like this episode because it's about Allie. They brought back Allie, who's one of the major fan favorite characters. Everybody likes seeing Allie. It's kind of a bummer that the end of movie number 4 is like, oh, Allie's coming back in the next movie, and then she didn't. Well, she finally came back here in the TV series, and they do nothing with her. Like, nothing. She is very unimportant. She probably didn't need to be in this episode at all. So it's a huge disappointment that they brought back this major character and did nothing with her. That's a waste. And that's why the episode is kind of a failure, in my opinion. Other than that, it's fine. The story is that Allie and her herd have returned, so Littlefoot wants to play with her. They all want to hang out with her again, right? But she is hanging out with this new kid named Rhett. And he brags that he's strong, he's great, he fights sharp teeth. He's obviously lying, but Allie is somehow stupid now, and she totally believes the lies being told by Tommy Pickles. I mean, Rhett. So they concoct a scheme to expose Rhett's lies. Basically, they're going to pretend a Sharptooth is chasing them, and they're like, oh no, Rhett, save us. Like, you defeated 1,000,000 sharp teeth in the past. Defeat this one. And the plan... I mean, Chomper is going to be the fake Sharptooth, right? We get a couple of funny scenes where they practice the Sharptooth attack with Chomper, and everybody's being, like, super hilarious. That was funny. So the plan works perfectly, actually. They pretend they're being attacked by Chomper. Rhett admits he doesn't know how to fight Sharpteeth, and he runs away scared. And after that, we kind of get a long sequence where Rhett goes and gets the adults and says, oh my gosh, there's a Sharptooth attack. And then they're angry. Like, there are 2 characters called Angry Longneck in the credits. And they just get really mad and start chasing Chomper, and we get a surprisingly long chase sequence where these adults are chasing Chomper. I'm like, where are the other kids? Why doesn't one of them just stand up and say, whoa, 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 Chomper's our friend? No, we've got to have like a 5-minute chase sequence first. And at the end, the kids show up and they're like, guys, calm down. Chomper's really our friend. And the old one, who's in charge of the herd, relates this back to Rhett. She's like, okay, Rhett was telling lies. That's bad. But Littlefoot and his friends were also telling lies by pretending Chomper's a villain. So the moral of the story is don't tell lies. And that's fine. What does this really have to do with Allie? Well, Rhett's kind of in the way of Littlefoot and friends playing with Allie, but like this story could have been done without Allie. Just here's a new herd of dinosaurs, and Rhett just happens to be a jerk. Like the kids would probably talk to Rhett anyway because he's around their age and no one else is. Yeah. The only other comment I really have is Friends for Dinner. Oh man. So, I mean, that's a good song, and this was a good version of the song, but it was really forced. Like, they're having a conversation, and Chomper says, oh, friends for dinner, just as an excuse to kickstart this song. It's like, oh, man, that was really forced. The other song didn't sound that great. As we've seen in this series already a lot, that they will take a song and just write new lyrics to it, and the new lyrics don't always fit. Like sometimes there's an extra syllable or a syllable missing or something like that, and that's sort of what this felt like. The internet says we're gonna hear like 6 variations of this song throughout the series, so you can have fun if you're a super fan trying to guess which version of the song was written first. I'm pretty sure it wasn't this version. So, overall, it's a fine episode about lying. I did think chasing Chomper went on for too long, and it was just a complete waste of Allie. Like, if you asked me, hey, what should the big Allie episode be? My answer would not be, hey, let's learn a lesson about lying with some other kid who pretends he's really cool. No, that's not what I said. I'm like, no, have an actual story with Allie if you're going to bring back Allie. Like, that should be obvious. The next episode is the Meadow of the Jumping Waters, and I thought it was pretty good for like 2/3 of it. I want to be a jerk who says Petrie episodes are bad, but yeah, Petrie kind of ruined the final third of the episode for me. Other than that, it's a great episode. I liked, like, the scenery was really good in this one. The music was fine. Let's see. The story is that Spike eats some red tree stars, and Petrie goes, oh no, that's bad luck, bad luck. And I thought for sure he was going to break into the bad luck song. And he just repeats that over and over again for the entire episode, and that's where it got annoying. Because it's like, oh no, Littlefoot stepped on a prickler. Ooh, that's bad luck. Oh no, it started raining. Ooh, that's bad luck. And then there was a mudslide. Oh no, that's bad luck. Me no like bad luck. And yeah, Petrie just got annoying after a while. Spike though, man, Spike was great in this episode. He got to like sing both of the songs. Okay, all he does is burp, 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 but you know that happened in the movie too. What movie? Burp, 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 burp. That's bad luck. Oh, yeah, he did his burp, burp, burp thing in the actual bad luck song. Well, that makes it weirder that he's doing his like singing and not with the song you'd expect. But he sings adventuring. It's like, burr, 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 and it was good. Although his neck was weird. His neck, he looks like he was a long neck, okay? They kind of drew his neck so his head was even with Ruby's and Littlefoot's, and that just looked weird. Poor Spike. He gets his head stuck in the log. Bad luck! And, we sort of get some backstory, like Ruby talks more about her and Chomper going to the Great Valley, which is good. It's nice to get more story on this strange new character, Ruby. Like, if people miss the episode where she gives her actual backstory, this kind of fills in the backstory too. So she and Chomper were just going across this area with a bunch of geysers, and they got chased by Red Claw. And Sarah doesn't believe it. So they all go journeying to the area with the geysers. Yeah. And there's a stinky pit. Spike falls into the stinky pit. And bad luck, says Petrie. But we know Spike loves the stinky stuff, right? Hot and stinky, stinky and hot. Yeah. They don't sing that song, though. That movie came after the TV series, I believe. So they get chased by Red Claw, and yeah, it was kind of scary, but then, like I said, the final third of the episode is not as good because Petrie just gets too annoying, repeating the same basic thing over and over and over again. Like, you know, I just read a book where, like, this person complains, Sweet Valley Twins book, where a person complains 13 times. It's like 13 times, and it's the exact same, like, complaint every time. Sure, she says something slightly different, but it's the same basic complaint over and over, and that's what happens with Petrie in this episode. Like, same complaint that, oh no, that's bad luck, at least 10 times, and that gets bothersome. Also, the chase at the end where the, you know, Red Claw and his baddies chase after our kids, that was a low effort chase. I'm sorry. It was a low speed chase. It did not grab my interest. The kids, like, easily run through his legs because he's just standing in place doing nothing, right? And then somehow Spike wasn't with the rest of the group. I thought Spike was with everybody else, but no, apparently he got separated from the rest of the group so he could save the day at the end by coming up, and he smells so bad that the villains run away because they don't want to be around him anymore. And then Petrie admits, hey, actually, maybe Spike falling into the mud, the slimy, stinky pit, was good luck. Yeah! And that's it. That's the episode. It was a fine episode. So, because I like to, you know, 2/3 of it, 3/4 of it, 7 out of 10, maybe? How's that? It was good. I did like Spike. Petrie was kind of bringing it down, and then the ending needed to be a bit more exciting. That's all. Next is the Great Log Running Game. This was an interesting episode. This one mostly focuses on Sarah and her dad, which is great. I love him. Wasn't a huge fan of his song, though, so he sings that song that we've heard like 3 times already. Oh, I am a three-horn, do-do-do-do-do-do. I get up in the morn, do-do-do-do-do-do. I like to sing and dance all day, do-do-do-do-do-do. My skin is gray. And I kind of highlighted the problem there, at least I tried to. Sometimes he just says the line instead of singing them, and there's no harmony. Like, this song was meant to be la la la, 2 characters singing together, as we've seen every other version of the song, 2 characters singing together, and that wasn't the case here. Sarah, like, joins in at the end, but she doesn't do the sing back and forth with him. She does the sing at the same time as him, and it just didn't sound great. So it sounded like the song needed like a second take, or maybe a better vocal coach to kind of help him actually sing. You know what? I don't blame this guy. He's an actor, not a professional singer, okay? Okay. I don't think he sings in the main series, does he? No, he does! Movie number 3! He does a perfect job of singing in movie number 3, so then I don't know why he couldn't sing in this one. Okay. The premise is that Ducky invents a new game, which is running on logs. Just a log rolling game. And it's a game for 2-footed creatures, because the creatures with 4 feet can't actually get all 4 feet on the log at once. The log's too small. But Sarah, her dad told her, three-horns can do anything. Just set your mind to it and you can accomplish anything. And that's a really good moral, but the story seems to be like making fun of Sarah and Mr. Threehorn. It's like, whoa, not anything, okay? You can't run on a log if your legs are just not designed for that. Like, if you're too short, you cannot become a professional basketball player. That seems to be the lesson. So Sarah tries to get on the log, and she falls and hurts herself, and she goes home and she gets angry, and then she like complains to Dad, and Dad's like, okay, well, you can't do anything. And she's like, darn right I could do anything. I'm gonna run on the log. And Dad's like, maybe you should try something else instead. You know, he doesn't want to like discourage her, but and he doesn't want to admit, by the way, I was wrong. You can't do anything, because that's a really mean thing for a parent to say. But, you know, at the same time, he knows this isn't going to work. It's interesting, like at one point, Sarah complains, I can't get on this log. This log isn't big enough. Why can't I stand on this log? And then I remembered, in the theme song, the entire group is on one log. Like, all of them are on one log. Like, Sarah could easily turn sideways to be on the log. Nobody mentions that. Nobody thinks of that. It did seem like maybe the people that did the art for the show kind of struggled with figuring out how to do artwork of Sarah running on a log without falling. Because it looked a little weird, that one shot where they just stayed on it for like a minute or two. It was a really long time. Well, as a result of Sarah insisting on being on the log, even though she can't, she kind of ends up through the rapids, because apparently their swimming pool is connected to rapids, which connects to a big waterfall, and she's scared and she can't, she doesn't know how to get off and swim to shore. Why doesn't she know how to get off and swim to shore? I could swear they've swum in previous movies. This is not something we haven't seen before, okay? There are plenty of movies where the kids need to swim on a log or under... Oh, what was it? They needed to be in the log in that one movie. Anyway, whatever. They did swimming in previous movies, but for the sake of this story, Sarah doesn't know how to swim to shore. Okay, fine. So they have to stop her from going off the waterfall. Mr. Threehorn sees there's a big rock. He could push it over to stop basically to stop the waterfall. But he can't do it. He's not strong enough. So I thought he was just going to do a running attack, but he agrees to let Spike and Littlefoot help. So he's like, okay, come on, all three of us push together. And that was kind of a nice scene. They didn't make a big deal out of it, and I wish they did, because that kind of had a good moral. That's like, okay, you can be strong and independent. It's okay to ask for help, even if you're strong and independent. And that seems like a good moral for Sarah to learn. Yeah? But instead, Sarah... Basically, she ends by saying, you know what, I was on my log the whole time I was going down the running water. That means I was on my log longer than anybody else. I win the game. It's like, no, Sarah. It was a running game, log running game, not a staying on top of the log for a long time game. You're just changing the game rules so you can win. And, yeah, that's kind of cheating, Sarah. But... It was a decent episode. I liked it just fine. Let's see. Sarah sings her angry song, I think. And I already talked about the other song. I forgot to mention the song in the previous episode. They finish with Good Times, Good Friends, which I believe we've heard before and we're going to hear again throughout this series. It's fine. Yeah. Oh, one point in this episode, Ducky goes, oh, I can do it. Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, what? Ducky does not say yes, yes, yes. Ducky says, yup, yup, yup. I mean, come on, seriously, that's basic stuff. So, a Sarah episode, probably a Ducky episode as well. Littlefoot and Spike kind of have to stand by the sidelines, but they do get that moment of saving Sarah at the end, so good for them, good for them. The Legend of the Storytellers is not a good episode. I would recommend skipping it. There's only two things I liked about the episode. One of them is just the voice acting job done by Sorrow, who's our new character. He sounds like he should be doing audiobooks. This guy does a great job with his voice. And he shows up, and it starts when Grandpa's telling a story to the kids. Sorrow shows up, and he's like, you're telling the story wrong, old man. You messed up. And then we get a big cliffhanger music. Dun, dun, dun. And then we have the theme song, and then it comes back, and Sorrow's like, I'm just kidding. I actually love you, buddy. You're my friend. It's kind of weird that we don't know the name of Grandpa. Like, Sorrow gets called by name over and over in this episode, but he purposely avoids saying Grandpa's name, probably because he couldn't think of a name for Grandpa. Sorrow, obviously that name comes from the dinosaur name Saurus, in the same way that, you know, Topsy, Tricia, and Sarah come from Triceratops, you know? This series likes making names based off dinosaur names. So, Sorrow is Grandpa's old friend. I think he's like 20 or 30 years younger than Grandpa. Grandpa's job used to be storyteller. He would walk all over the country, meet up with the various long-neck herds, and tell them stories. And these stories are like fairy tales or mythology. So, like, one's a story of how longnecks grew their extra long necks, and it's because the sun and the moon granted special powers to them and the trees. And then we get another story about somebody whose sister was kidnapped because she was having too much fun. And so our hero had to race the wind in order to save her. And that inspired him to be brave. So stories like that. And on the one hand, they're kind of interesting. On the other hand, it feels like it was filler made to stretch out the episode. Because if we just interrupt the episode with a 5-minute story 2 to 3 times, that takes over most of the episode. Yeah. I feel like maybe that was sort of the idea behind it, because the story is basically half an episode. The story is Sorrow shows up. He's like, Grandpa, you need to take your old job back. You need to be the storyteller again. And Grandpa is like, oh no, I'm kind of old and retired. I don't want to do it. And Sorrow gets mad and leaves. And then Grandpa sings the song Remembering, which was a highlight of the episode. So the song Remembering was great. Just watch that clip. That's pretty much all you need to see from this episode. Sorrow's voice was the good one too. So those are the 2 things I liked about the episode. So Sorrow throws a hissy fit and leaves. Littlefoot and Chomper chase after him, and it takes them about 5 minutes in order to find him. And once they meet him, there's a rock slide which momentarily blocks the path. The kids get really, really scared and upset, and they sing the angry song from the previous episode, only now the lyrics have changed, so it's about being scared, not being angry, and I thought it was pretty bad. It was a bad rendition of the song. Like, the lyrics were not good, and, you know, I don't want to, like, insult the kids that were singing it, but they sounded like they were struggling to actually sing the song, and they weren't able to get across, like, the emotion of the song, which is scaredness. They need to sound really scared. Instead, it sounds more like they're just struggling to get the notes correct, because it does seem like it's a tough song to sing. So maybe I should have given the kids an easier song to sing at this moment, one with better lyrics. So what happens is Sorrow tells them the courage story, and they're like, oh, we don't feel so bad anymore. Grandpa shows up with 2 other long necks, and they knock those rocks out of the pathway so the pathway's not blocked. We don't know who the other 2 long necks are. Is it Grandma? I don't know who the 3rd one would be. But doesn't matter, they just go away. So Grandpa goes to Sorrow and says, you know what, Sorrow? I think you should be the new storyteller. And Sorrow's like, really? And Littlefoot goes, yeah, you told a story and made us feel brave. And he's like, whoa, I guess I should be the storyteller. And that's the episode. That's it. Like I said, the story's only about half an episode's worth of story. It's like Grandpa meets his old friend. They have like a disagreement, a misunderstanding. His friend goes away. They chase after his friend. And then the disagreement is cleared up. There's not much for Littlefoot and his friends to do. Littlefoot and Chomper are fine. They were okay in this episode. Yeah, but overall, I wouldn't recommend this episode. I think just the song Remembering. I remember Grandpa singing that. Maybe I remember that from one of the movies, though. Anyway, that was a good song. And that's probably the best part about the episode. So just watch the YouTube clip of Grandpa singing the song, and you've got this episode covered. You don't need to check out the rest. The Bright Circle celebration was decent. I thought it was a good one. I'm still a little confused about the premise. It's basically Thanksgiving, but they had Thanksgiving in movie number 3. That was the day of the giving thanks, right? So maybe this is supposed to be Christmas, but it's a holiday. It's the Bright Circle celebration where everybody gathers in the valley to share food and give thanks to the sun. And you talk about what you've learned over the year, what you've gotten better at. And I'm just not sure what holiday that aligns with. So Ruby has to try to figure out what she's gotten better at. That's her story. And the other element is that it's winter time, right? And after this celebration, then the days get longer and longer and longer. That's the idea. So that's why I'm thinking, oh, it's got to be solstice around Christmas, right? But Sarah, she doesn't believe it. Sarah is a dinosaur god atheist. She's like, what? Come on. Spring is going to come every year, no matter what you tell the sun in the sky. Okay? You're crazy, Petrie. And she's right about that. She is right. she goes home to her, so she refuses to be part of the celebration. So she goes home and complains to her dad, and dad doesn't believe in this stuff either. And then they sing the song My Reality, which is the song like he sang like 2 episodes ago. He did a good job this time. Like, he sang the song better here than 2 episodes ago. And you know, this time Sarah's actually doing harmony with him, so it sounds a lot better. They just did a great job with this song compared to 2 episodes ago. And that just makes me wonder, did something go wrong 2 episodes ago? Or maybe they just, you know, hey, they remembered singing this song and they already had the tune memorized, and so they did a much better job this time. I don't know. But it was funny because, you know, they're like, he's basically being a hardcore materialist, saying that everything he sees, that's just reality. There's nothing outside of his reality besides what he perceives. It's like, okay, a rock's a rock, a tree's a tree. That's it. We don't have magic gods moving around the rocks and the trees or pushing the sun across the sky. No, that's it. But then he goes into saying, yeah, the earth is flat. And, well, the earth is not flat, as we know. And then there's a joke. It's like a rock's a tree a tree. And then one of the rocks stands up and moves because it's Mr. Clubtail, or Mr. Clubtail colored differently, so he looks more like a rock. And then one of the trees is actually a long neck moving its neck, going, I was like, what on earth is he talking about? So it feels like they're kind of undercutting. I'm not sure what side the episode is taking. It's like, okay, is it good to believe in the sun god, or is it bad? Because the people who don't believe in the sun god are also kind of making stupid mistakes. Like, the world is flat, and they think the sun goes around the world, when we know that the sun is the center of the universe. So I guess the point is that dinosaurs are really bad with astronomy. Maybe that's where it's supposed to go. Maybe that's the moral of the story. Anyway, Sarah eventually gets lonely, and she's like, you know, you could still hang out with her friends, see how's this going, right? And Dad's like, sure, yeah, let's do that. You know, because they can still hang out with their friends and have food. Like, come on, it's a holiday. They're having free food. Might as well celebrate, right? But then when they show up, a fire starts, and then we get the big action scene where our characters have to put out the fire by kicking dirt on it, dropping wet leaves on it, and everybody's super shocked that Sarah and her father are helping. I'm like, why though? They don't want the Great Valley to burn down. It's like, it doesn't matter what they feel about the bright circle. They would still want to stop the fire anyway. But then we have an act of God, if I could put it that way. Just starts snowing out of nowhere, which puts out the fire. And then Petrie sings Feel So Happy. And that was kind of a fun rendition of the song. The animation looked, like the timing on the animation looked a little weird during that sequence. So it's like they're sliding underneath Mr. Thicknose's legs. So they're like, like that. I'm like, well, what happened those 3 seconds in the middle? It looked like it was 1 second stretched out to 3 seconds. I don't know what happened there. Also, Grandma and Grandpa, their mouths are moving. Can we actually hear them singing the song? I'm not entirely sure. Well, those are my thoughts in the episode. I thought it was an interesting episode, and the song My Reality was well done. I'm still not quite sure what the point of the episode is. Is it just supposed to be a fun holiday episode? Or is it trying to say something about astronomy and religion and that sort of thing? Or is it just cute dinosaurs celebrating a holiday? I don't know. Escape from the Mysterious Beyond was okay. It starts with the kids in the Mysterious Beyond. We don't get told what they're doing there. It doesn't even bother to explain. It's just the kids are in the Mysterious Beyond, and they're quickly chased by the villains. Red Claw, and then his 2 villains, Thud and Screech. So this is kind of like our first time seeing a lot of them, because they're basically there the whole episode, even though we've seen them in a few episodes so far. I was surprised to learn that the guy who played Sorrow, the storyteller, 2 episodes ago, he's the guy who does Red Claw. Okay. Because there's a lot of angry dinosaurs screeching. Just lots of dinosaurs screeching while the villains chase our heroes. So, and also we have a storyline where Chomper feels bad because he's little. Like, Sarah makes fun of him for being little, and, he can't climb up a certain area because he's little. And they try going through a narrow area. They climb up a narrow area. That's how they avoid Red Claw. But the two villains, Thud and Screech, are still following behind them. There's a conveniently timed earthquake, which kind of separates the group. So Ducky and Chomper are trapped on like this island, sort of big island, and Thud is there too. Only his tail is stuck. So he can't eat them and attack them. And just like for the rest of the episode, it's just Ducky and Chomper together, talking with Thud occasionally, because Chomper can talk to Thud and he can translate. And Thud leans heavily on the fact that Chomper is little. He calls Chomper Little Biter and makes fun of him all the time, and he even laughs a little bit, which is interesting. For the rest of the episode, the friends are just trying to get down the mountain and then to the base of this little island thing. And, of course, they get chased by the other two sharp teeth for most of the time. And Littlefoot gets the idea that we're going to push a bridge down to create... We're going to push a tree down to create a bridge across this big gap so they can get off the island and back to the mainland. I really shouldn't call it an island because there's no water, but if you watch the episode, I think it makes sense to call it an island. So it's an interesting setup, I guess. It's two of our characters. We don't really see Ducky and Chomper paired together very often. I mean, you don't really see, like, two characters together just by themselves very often. Generally, it's the whole group. But I have seen this setup before where we've got, like, two characters and one of the major villains, and they're sort of stuck together, and they have to deal with each other. And, Chomper tries to teach Thud about friendship. At the very end, he does kind of help free Thud, so Thud is able to escape and just not die on the island. That was nice. And Thud kind of returns the favor by looking the other way when he has an opportunity to attack them and eat them, so the kids get back to the Great Valley. So is Thud the friend now? I don't know. I thought it was kind of funny when Chomper's like, oh, don't worry, Thud's not a problem anymore. And Sarah's like, what? Is this a different guy named Thud? What's going on? So yeah, pretty action-packed, lots of dino chases, lots of dino screeches, and the interesting setup of being trapped with a villain. I liked it. Wasn't a huge fan of the whole Chomper feeling sad because he's little storyline, but, probably kids who are watching this, relate to that a lot more than I do. Because here's a movie where Littlefoot was feeling bad about being little. It's like, okay, this is ground they've already treaded. I actually think it fits Chomper better than Littlefoot, who's one of the largest of the group. The two songs, Adventuring is one of the songs, but it's Petrie not wanting to go adventuring. It's like, if I didn't go adventuring, me would not be here. It was fine. And then the other song was Remembering, but they changed the lyrics around. So they say, we will be okay. So it's Chomper comforting Ducky because they're trapped on an island together. Overall, I think it was a pretty good episode. I want to show off this. This is from one of the Land Before Time video games. I was not trying to print it out, but it printed out anyway. So I'm like, okay, let me just put it inside. I had a fancy photo frame already. So I'm like, okay, fine. This is an actual certificate I've got from Land Before Time. I helped Littlefoot find an orange seed. It looks like grapes. Looks like grapes, yeah. The next episode is the Hidden Canyon episode, and I thought this was okay. It starts with the kids playing their seed game, and we see this in the theme song of every episode, so it's nice to actually see their game. I don't understand the rules. It looks like some sort of cross between soccer and football, something like that. So they play their game and accidentally discover, like, a cave entrance. So they go through the cave and they reach the Hidden Canyon, which is this small area with a bunch of trees with delicious tree sweets, but Chomper thinks they smell bad. So they send Chomper and Ruby away. I don't know why Ruby had to go. I thought Ruby could have stayed there. the kids love eating the tree sweets. They sing good times, good friends again. And they eat so many tree sweets that, you know, they're stuffed full of food and they could barely go home and they could barely move. Now we only get to see Ducky and Spike here. They go home and Mom's like, hey, I made a big dinner for you guys. And they're like, oh no, we're already stuffed full. But they don't want to tell anyone about it because otherwise the adults would try to eat all their tree sweets. And we kind of had a story about keeping secrets with tree sweets in the Tiny Sources movie, I believe. So after a couple of days of the kids like lying and sneaking around and just eating the tree sweets in the hidden canyon, turns out that the tree sweets were keeping sharp teeth away because they smell so bad. But the kids ate most of the tree sweets now. So now the sharp teeth have gone into the valley. It's Thud and Screech that go into the valley. So we get an action sequence kind of fighting them off, getting them to go away. And then, you know, the kids tell the truth to their, to the parents. And, Mr. Threehorn's like, what do you mean you kids ate all the sweets in the hidden canyon? And it's like, oh, hold on a second. This place has a name and everybody else already knows about it except the kids? I feel like the adults are kind of partially responsible for not telling the kids about this earlier. Because clearly the adults knew the situation about the tree sweets keeping the sharp teeth away. And then the next scene, we have Mr. Threehorn and Grandpa Longneck in the canyon. And I don't know how they got there. Because the entrance was a really tiny cave. It was like the size of Littlefoot. And somehow Mr. Threehorn and Grandpa Longneck got all the way through there. I don't get it. There shouldn't be a fear of Redclaw getting into the valley through this tiny cave. There's no way he should be able to fit. Well, Mr. Threehorn and Grandpa Longneck get to fight off the three villains, but the kids know they've got to help, so they take advantage of their amazing seed throwing skills and the smelly tree sweets. So they basically reenact their game by throwing and hitting the tree sweets super far away. Like, super far in the one shot. It was really far. The animation in this episode was not the best. There were a lot of places where the characters looked weird and were off-model. Like, my daughter saw, and she's like, why is Ducky the wrong shape? So if little kids can notice, that's not good. And that's the episode. So the kids kind of learn, I guess, 2 lessons, maybe. It's kind of sad. They have to close the entrance to the hidden canyon, so nobody can have those wonderful tree sweets anymore. I thought the story was okay, and the action pieces are good, and, you know, the story could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot more repetitive, but it felt like it moved at a good enough pace. Like, I wouldn't say this could be a movie in and of itself, but it's kind of funny. They're like, Redclaw, he's the most dangerous Sharptooth. They try to introduce him like the most dangerous Sharptooth ever in every episode, and, you know, we've seen him in like 5 episodes, and he always gets his butt kicked by a bunch of little kids, so is he really the scariest Sharptooth ever? I don't know. The second song of the episode is the song they sang last time, right? The angry song with different lyrics about them explaining the plot that they have to tell the adults. And I guess it's fine. I mean, the lyrics worked. It was just kind of weird when you hear the other versions of the song. It's like, oh, now the song is something completely different. And I feel like that's happened a lot with the songs, because all they do is they take the exact same song, like this electric guitar song, and then they just put new lyrics to it to fit whatever situation the kids are in. And it doesn't always work. This time I think it worked, but if you compare it to the other versions of the song, which I feel like are more true to, like, this is not like the first version of the song. They wrote the other ones first, right? Clearly this is not like the original version all the others are based on. Who knows? I'm sure that's the thing, like, people on the Land Before Time, wiki argue about. It's like, okay, which of the 8 versions of the song was written first? Okay, anyway, decent enough episode. I would give it a thumbs up. I forgot to look up the name of the next episode in the series. It's probably called The Week of Rising Waters or something. Because it's the Week of Rising Waters, it rains very, very heavily, and the Great Valley floods. You know, the Great Valley is supposed to be a paradise, but it's got a lot of natural disasters. Fires, flooding, occasional droughts, and lots of earthquakes. Well, this time the flooding is so bad that Petrie's home is destroyed in a mudslide, and they have to move away. They have to find a new home, and Petrie doesn't like it. He doesn't want to move. And he sings the song from the previous episode, like the rock guitar song. It's weird that they have a song appear in back-to-back episodes, and that's not the first time they've just reused the song in back-to-back episodes. Okay, it has different lyrics this time, but still. So Petrie's upset about moving, and he kind of complains a lot, a little annoying. But they do find a new home, and he's convinced that his new home is good. We kind of see a bit of his two brothers and his sister. I thought he had more siblings than that, but it was nice to see them, and Petrie's mom plays a pretty big role. She offers to go back and find Petrie's snuggling stick, because Petrie can't sleep without a snuggling stick. Me no sleep without me snuggle stick. So, of course, a snuggling stick is like in the perfect perfect place, and like this cliff which is angled. So as soon as she grabs the stick, suddenly big mudslide and landslide. She's completely covered with mud. There is kind of a humorous subplot where Petrie's brothers and sister are terrified of Chomper. I thought that was kind of funny. Littlefoot and Ruby are there for the entire storyline too. They didn't need to be there. Not really. They did not contribute that much. It's mainly just Chomper and Petrie here, because Petrie's family really steps up and fills the role, and I guess it's nice to see them, right? So Chomper chomps his way through the mud and saves Petrie's mom, and he even saves a snuggling stick, and Petrie's so happy he sings "Feel So Happy," which he's already sung in another episode too. Okay, so that's the story. It's fine, you know. I feel like I kind of am mean when it comes to Petrie episodes and the Petrie movies. This one's fine. It's good. It's realistic. You can understand Petrie's feelings, and he doesn't get as annoying as he sometimes usually does. I mean, like, he could have been so much worse and more annoying. Like, I talked about a previous episode where he was complaining about bad luck over and over and over and over and over again. And this episode has a similar storyline where he's complaining, "I don't want to move," over and over and over again, but it wasn't as annoying as that previous episode. So that's good. It's not as annoying as it could have been. The other storyline is kind of garbage, actually. Sarah's sister, Trisha. Nice to get a Trisha episode, I guess, although she can't really talk, so it's hard to have a really good episode with her. She likes playing in the water because she thinks it's like playing in giant puddles. And so Sarah's worried, so she says, no, I'm going to teach Trisha how to swim. And Ducky is just kind of mean. Ducky and Spike are just sort of heckling Sarah the whole episode, which is kind of uncharacteristically mean to them. So she's like, Sarah, your sister's kicking. She should be paddling with her hind legs. And Sarah's like, all right, Miss Smarty Pants, why don't you do it? Why don't you teach her? And Ducky's like, wait, me? I don't know how to teach anyone how to swim. It's like, Ducky, you were just giving swimming advice on how to move the legs. Well, why don't you say that advice? How did Spike learn how to swim then? If nobody taught him, maybe Mom taught him. Yeah, let's go with that. Where is Mom and Ducky's brothers and sisters? I don't know what's happening with all of the other families. Who knows? Maybe the flooding doesn't really affect them. It's weird to think of all the families that get affected by flooding. Petrie's family is the one that lives high up in the cliff where the rain isn't going to flood. The flood's not going to reach that high up. Anyway, and then Sarah gets a chance to try to heckle Ducky, but it doesn't really work. Ducky's lessons actually do prove effective, and Trisha learns how to swim a lot betterer, as Ducky says. And then soon, Trisha's perfectly fine swimming on her own, and Sarah is forced to admit, okay, Ducky is actually a legitimately good teacher. And we kind of end with Sarah trying to swim on her own, and she does a terrible job of swimming, which kind of explains the Great Log episode where she just can't swim to shore there. Apparently, Sarah's just terrible at swimming. But that's the storyline. The storyline is like Sarah's overprotective of her sister, so Ducky gives her sister swimming lessons, and now her sister can swim. The end. So, yeah, the main story's fine. The secondary story, not so much. I didn't really feel like Littlefoot and Ruby were kind of used to full effectiveness. So I feel like if it had been just Chomper and Petrie together, and then the others had some other storyline which worked better than just teaching Trisha how to swim, then this would be a really good episode. As it is, yeah, I'm probably going to give it like a 7 out of 10, 6 or 7 out of 10, because the main story's good, it's great, but it's surprisingly good for a Petrie episode, because I don't usually like Petrie episodes, but the secondary story was just this total skip. You don't need to see that at all. Here's the cover of my DVD set, by the way. It's just a bunch of stock art, which doesn't really fit together. Like, you can tell the Chomper art was done at a different time because it's got different shading. And then we've got Spike with the wrong colored eyes and Orange Petrie, who's been on the cover of a lot of the movies. Now, I thought we'd get like a unique picture because we have Ruby here, and this is the first time Ruby's been in anything. So they had to draw like a new picture for Ruby. So they had a great opportunity to do a cover just for the DVDs of this series, but they didn't. They just lazily reused stock art from other sources, and that's kind of a shame. And maybe that's a metaphor for this episode, because I feel like it wasn't very good. It's The Lonely Journey, I believe it's called. Chomper is very sad that nobody wants to be friends with him. So, Mr. Threehorn and Mrs. Threehorn are both kind of mean to him. And dinosaurs, I don't think they were named, but, you know, he's playing with these dinosaur kids, and the parents like, whoa, whoa, kids, stay away. Stay away from the sharp tooth. Sharp teeth will bite you. And Chomper's just feeling really bad. Everybody's getting ready for the Day of Great Giving, so they're having a bunch of green food, and Chomper can't eat that, so he's feeling excluded. And it's a holiday to celebrate no sharp teeth in the valley, so he feels excluded again. So he decides to leave and make friends with all the sharp teeth. Like, Chomper learned to be friends, why can't he teach these other sharp teeth to be friends? And there's a language barrier. Like, he goes up to the sharp tooth and goes, hey, how's it going? You want to be friends? And then the sharp tooth responds, and, you know, they're speaking two different languages. But instead of speaking sharp tooth, which Chomper knows that language, he continues talking in the flat tooth language that the other characters can't understand. And that was just weird. Like, he does this like 3 or 4 times where he goes up the various sharp teeth and they can't understand his language, so they ignore him. And he's like, oh no, they don't want to be friends with me. It's like, because they can't understand what you're saying. Talk to them in their own language. We had the episode where Chomper and Thud talk to each other quite a bit in Sharp Tooth. And, you know, there were subtitles when characters spoke Sharp Tooth. And I thought that was fine. That was good. So it's weird to have this episode afterwards where Chomper just completely forgets, oh, yeah, I have to speak Sharp Tooth in order to speak to Sharp Teeth. Yeah. So that was basically dumb. Dumb move on Chomper's part. I did kind of like the part where he met a dinosaur who was around his age. I thought that was interesting. But again, like, he's not speaking the same language as the sharp teeth, and so the kid doesn't understand him. The kid just tries to bite him and eat him. So Chomper runs up a snowy mountain, and he falls into a crevice. Littlefoot and his friends chase after Chomper. So at the very start of the episode, they were playing like a hide and seek game where Chomper covered Spike's eyes with mud, and then Spike just had to find Ducky with just his sense of smell. So Spike reuses that trick to try to find Chomper. He tries to smell Chomper's trail, and that's how they find Chomper on the mountain. And we get the song, "You Can Sniff It Out," which is the song we've heard like 6 times already. They just changed the lyrics. It was the My Reality song. I didn't think the rhymes were very good this time. Like, they rhymed out with out and doubt with doubt, I think. And I don't understand the point of that. I would have rhymed out with doubt, but that's just me. So they find Chomper. They save him from the crevice. Spike does it by like eating through the snow, and he digs through the snow like 10 feet just by eating the snow, like he's in a game of Dig Dug, or he's Mulch Diggums from Artemis Fowl or something. So they save him, and then there's another earth shake. There's always earthquakes here. So they slide down the mountain, and it's funny that it took them 3 seconds to get up the mountain, but it takes them 3 minutes to slide down. When did the mountain get so big? Well, they take Chomper back home. They give him special food just for him. Bunch of bugs and worms. It sort of looks like the platter in Hakuna Matata from The Lion King, the bug platter. And now Chomper's happy. And so they all sing "We're a Family and You're One of Us Now," like in the second movie, where they're explaining to Chomper that even though he looks different, they still love him and care for him. I am joking. Ha ha. They don't sing that. Instead, they sing "Feel So Happy" again for like the 8th time. It's sort of like that cover with the stock art where we're just going to lazily reuse the same songs over and over. Land Before Time has like 30 songs in the movies that they could pull from. They could use those songs, but instead they're just using the same 6 or 8 songs. Over and over again. Gosh, that's really a downer. They could even write new songs. I guess that one song is a new tune. I guess they've got a couple songs that are new tunes, but again, they're still reusing them over and over and over again. So I didn't think it was a very good episode. Like, it could have been good. It's an interesting idea of Chomper actually trying to talk to the Sharp Teeth and befriend them, but there are no actual conversations because he's speaking a completely different language than them. So that just completely ruins the premise. It was done better in a previous episode where he kind of makes friends with Thud. Like, go watch that previous episode instead. That was much better. Also, this is the first time we see Sharp Teeth that are not Red Claw, Screech, and Thud. So we finally get to see some new villains, which is good. That's actually kind of good. I mean, Red Claw, okay, he kind of suffers from villain overuse. Like, if he's the bad guy in every episode and he gets foiled in every episode, he's not really a scary villain anymore. It's really easy to defeat this guy, but this time he gets to be a legit villain and not get easily defeated, so that's cool, and we get to see some new Sharp Teeth. So if you like that, that's fine, but still, I would not rate this highly. This is not a good episode. Know what I would rate highly, though? The previous episode, Rising Waters, I actually had a nightmare last night about my house flooding. Yeah, so I'm almost 40, and Land Before Time gave me nightmares. So I'm going to have to give an extra point to that previous episode because it did a good job of sticking in my subconscious brain. Whereas this episode, I'm sure I'll just completely forget it. The fast water adventure is kind of bad. I'm actually surprised that was a full 20-minute episode because it felt like it was only 10 minutes long. So it's bad, but at least it's not so bad. You feel every single minute of pain. No, it's just, I don't know. The kids are playing in the water when suddenly there's an earthquake again. And that blocks up the water, so the water supply is cut off. Again, and they even mention we've done this story before. So the kids have to follow the water to its source, and gosh, Mo is back. Mo's not a terrible character, and he's not as annoying here as he was in his movie. I guess he's okay in this, but I'm like, oh great, Mo's back. That was my reaction. He does have a fun voice. Yeah, he doesn't do like the annoying laughter weird thing that he did all the time in his movie. So that's good. That is a plus. So what they do is they move rocks out of the way. Now the rocks have just formed like a natural dam. So they move rocks out of the way. But then there's an aftershock and more rocks fall. And they're like, oh man, this is terrible. Like every time we move the rocks, more rocks come. It's like, that happened once. It happened once. And our heroes are just giving up. Ugh. Anyway, so it's kind of a weird situation here because we've got the rocks, but there's a log that's stuck on both sides of the rock dam. Only there's a rock inside the log, so they have to pull the rock outside of the log. And you know what? It's big enough Ducky can walk inside and just grab it and pull it. The rock conveniently has vines, so they can pull it. Yeah, that's convenient. Oh yeah. Chomper feels bad in this episode because his arms are tiny. Like, Mr. Threehorn makes fun of him for having tiny, useless arms. And, gonna be honest, that's a joke people make on the internet all the time. Like, T-Rexes have little tiny arms that can't even touch each other. It's like, why... What is a T-Rex gonna do with those arms? And so it just kind of... It kind of makes sense that Chomper's feeling bad about his tiny little arms, but at the same time, it's like, it's reality. Trying to make him feel better about it isn't going to change anything. His arms aren't going to get any longer or become much more useful. So Chomper gets tangled up in vines and he almost drowns to add insult to injury, because throughout this entire episode, things happen, and they're like, Chomper, your arms won't help. But here at the end, with the log situation... His arms do help. See, there's a hole in the log, which is tiny, and only Chomper's tiny arms can fit through. So Chomper sticks his tiny arms through and pulls on the vines, or pulls out the rock, and so now water is slowly going through the dam, because they've got a log-sized hole in the dam for water to travel through. And Moe's like, oh, Mo have to go now. And it is kind of sad, I guess, to see Mo go. And they sing Big Water, and, you know, in Moe's movie, they repeated Big Water with new lyrics. Well, mostly that version of the song. I think they changed one or two lyrics, but it is basically the Moe version of Big Water. And then at the end, they sing Remembering. And they sing it like a happy song, even though it's really a sad song, and I didn't think that fit at all. Like, wasn't there another song in the Moe movie? There must have been like 3 songs in the Moe movie. They could have used one of those instead of like trying to misfit Remembering. And then it ends with them going back to the valley, and everybody's kind of mean. Well, Grandpa is kind of mean to Mr. Threehorn, and I'm not quite sure. I don't think Grandpa deserves to dump a bunch of hate on Mr. Threehorn here. Mr. Threehorn did get all of the agreement and approval of the rest of the valley in the previous scene where they talked about the situation, and I don't really want to talk anymore about this episode. I thought it was kind of dull. Okay, bye. The Spooky Nighttime Adventure was a good episode. I really liked this one. Glad, because the last episode wasn't as good. So the premise is that Ruby tells a story about this monster called Hidden Runner, who's like an invisible monster who sneaks up on you and eats you when you sleep. And she prefaces it by saying, this is the scary story that Sharp Teeth tell their kids to scare them. So yeah, that was kind of cool. And so all the kids are very scared of Hidden Runner, except Sarah. She's like, Threehorns don't even have dreams, okay? Why are you having scary dreams? Man, Ducky's dream sequence was well done. The animation in this episode was spot on. It's good. So the kids all go to Mr. Thicknose to say, hey, is Hidden Runner real or not? And Mr. Thicknose just kind of surprises everyone by going, finally, I will catch the Hidden Runner. Like he's been hunting the Hidden Runner for decades now. And he sings Adventuring. He does a great job of singing that song, Adventuring. That was good. The other song in this episode is big water, but the lyrics are about hit and runner, and the lyrics were well done, and the singing was pretty good too. Yeah, again, Mr. Thicknose really coming through with the singing here, so good for him. And like, yeah, he agrees to take the kids with him because hit and runner is like 2 days away, as long as their parents say yes. Ruby and Chomper don't have parents to ask though, so what do? Well, they get to come along anyway. They do go through the forest at night, and then we get another big plot twist. Another cool nightmare sequence where Sarah actually has a nightmare. So it's a plot twist because she's pretending to be brave and saying she doesn't have any nightmares, which is very Sarah. But no, she actually kind of has a scary nightmare where she's not really... So, okay, so first hit and runner is like a dinosaur dragon, which looks so cool. I know people think that, oh, the stories about dragons. Well, they're actually stories about dinosaurs. And so it's kind of cool to have a dinosaur-themed dragon. Yeah. So that was cool, but then it morphs into Sarah's real nightmare is that all of her friends are making fun of her for being a scaredy wimp. The same way she kind of makes fun of them for being scaredy eggs. And yeah, that's kind of deep. This kind of deep. So this episode has some depth to it. So they go to a cave where they find Hit and Runner. They see Hit and Runner's shadow. And Sarah screams and runs away. And Mr. Thicknose is like, oh, I almost saw him. But they have to go find Sarah. And then while they're looking for Sarah, Littlefoot goes, Sarah, where are you? And his voice, I swear, sounds like the Littlefoot from the first movie. They have the same echo and stuff. In the one scene where Sarah, where are you? Just, you know, where there was like the tar monster and immediately afterwards. That scene, I think, you can tell I've watched The Land Before Time too many times when it's like, wait, I recognize this one single line in this one specific spot of the movie. What can I say? I watched the movie all the time growing up as a kid. So, so great voice acting job on Littlefoot, actually. He sounds just like the original Littlefoot. I don't think I've complimented the voice acting in this show enough, but it's good. It's good. So they do find, like, I thought we were going to have our standard ending where it's like, okay, we learned the lesson that Sarah admits that she's afraid and her friends comfort her. They say it's okay to be brave. I mean, it's okay to be scared. Part of bravery is acting in the face of fear. And I thought that was going to be it. But another, like, plot twist surprise for me was that Hit and Runner is real. Hit and Runner shows up, and Hit and Runner's just this shy dinosaur, which runs very, very quickly. And it's got camouflage coloring. So it's not really invisible. It just looks invisible when it camouflages. And that really does fit like the scary story legend of how he's able to disappear and be invisible. It's like, no, it's just a well camouflaged dinosaur. And that was, in fact, like a satisfying ending that they all got to see the Hit and Runner. Because I totally thought Hit and Runner didn't exist. So overall, it's a good episode. Emotional beats. It has, a couple of plot twists that I was not expecting. And Mr. Thicknose's singing was awesome. So all in all, probably one of the better episodes of this series so far. I think it was great. The Lone Dinosaur Returns is an okay episode, I guess. I'm not really a fan of the Lone Dinosaur movie, which is Secretosaurus Rock. I just think it's a weird combination to have Old West cowboys mixed up with dinosaurs. They don't really match together real well. And so I wasn't, like, super excited to hear that Doc is coming back. And that's, like, the first 10 minutes is everybody's excited because Doc is coming back to the Great Valley. Littlefoot's extra excited, but Chomper is scared because, Lone Dinosaur is known for fighting off sharp teeth. And Chomper's afraid that the Lone Dinosaur will attack him without warning. And obviously that's not going to happen. Obviously, like, Littlefoot and the friends are going to explain the situation to the Lone Dinosaur. And they've done that before in the past. Like the episode with Red and Allie's herd. And they're like, no, don't worry. Chomper's cool. He's fine. So this is something that's happened before where new dinosaurs show up and they're afraid of Chomper at first. And none of them tried to attack Chomper. There was no danger. I don't know why he's so scared this time around. I think I just don't like this episode because there's a lot of Chomper screaming and being upset, and it just bothered me. I just found it annoying. Chomper does have a nightmare with this like monster red dinosaur, and I found 3 episodes, 3 YouTube videos called The Long Neck Sharptooth, and they're just this episode, but like 3 separate people have uploaded videos. One of them being The Land Before Time, the official YouTube channel, Land Before Time. Why would they post this episode under the title The Long Neck Sharptooth, using that dream dinosaur thing as the thumbnail? That's incredibly misleading. They should have uploaded this video as Return of the Lone Dinosaur, which is the actual name of the episode. Yeah. It sounds like the Land Before Time YouTube channel is doing well. It's got way more subscribers than I do, but it's like they haven't made any new Land Before Time movies or TV shows in a long time. They're just doing compilations of old footage over and over again. Anyway, back to the actual episode. So Chomper tries to hide. They try to hide Chomper from the lone dinosaur. They do that for a while until he eventually sees Chomper, and Littlefoot explains who Chomper is, and Doc's like, I don't trust sharp teeth. They're nasty. But he agrees to leave Chomper alone. Like I said, there's no real danger. There's kind of a subplot where the lone dinosaur is in the valley because he's trying to meet his lady friend, Dara. And Littlefoot's like, wait, lady friend? You can't have a lady friend. You're the lone dinosaur. Lone, as in alone, which is weird because Littlefoot clearly wants to be his sidekick. Littlefoot, he wouldn't be alone if you became his full-time sidekick. So they decide to look for Dara, and they give Chomper the credit because he's great at smelling, but, I mean, come on. How is Chomper supposed to find Dara by smelling her? He doesn't know what she smells like. In fact, none of the kids know what she even looks like, okay? They're just kind of wandering at random in this muddy place. And yeah, they do happen to come across her. And so we get this kind of low-stakes action sequence where they need to push a tree close to the mud pit because she's trapped in a mud pit. So they push it as hard as they can so she can grab it and be pulled to safety. And that doesn't work, but Doc hears the commotion, I guess, and comes running. He saves all the kids from the mud, and he saves Dara. And he decides, you know what? I was wrong, Littlefoot. Your sharp-toothed friend is actually okay. And he apologizes to Chomper and apologizes to Littlefoot. And he encourages Littlefoot to, like, keep telling him whenever he's wrong. Littlefoot tries to apologize and say, hey, I was disrespectful, and that's good. But Doc is also good in saying, you know what, kid, I was wrong. Don't let me get away with being wrong. Tell me if I'm making a mistake. And it's a nice lesson about racism. I believe it's supposed to be a lesson about racism. That's good. And then Littlefoot just sings, Feel So Happy. It's weird. Doc says, like, oh, I was bringing my girlfriend Dara to the Great Valley to meet Littlefoot and his grandparents. I'm like, dude, why are you bringing your, like, girlfriend to meet Littlefoot and his grandparents? Littlefoot, the little kid you met once? Okay. Why is this on your agenda, Mr. Lone Dinosaur? But, fun fact, Lone Dinosaur here is voiced by, the guy who does Petrie. Yeah, Petrie and the Lone Dinosaur. Same voice actor in this episode. So, I guess that's it. Yeah, I didn't think it was a very good episode. Chomper got on my nerves for the first half. The final third is fine, though. That was okay. Stranger from the Mysterious Above is a bad episode. I'd recommend skipping it. I would rather not talk about this episode. I'd rather talk about Lonnie Minella. She did the voices of the Land Before Time characters and some of the video games, like Math Adventure, Preschool Learning Adventure, that sort of thing. I have played a bunch of Land Before Time games on my channel, so you can check that out. You can hear her doing the voices of the various characters. She is an amazing Chomper. I'm amazed. She sounds just like the real Chomper. So, This episode is a rehash of the Tinysaurus's movie, which was not a good movie. If you're going to redo one of the movies, redo one of the good movies. Bring back the enemies from movie number 2 or movie number 4 or even movie number 3. Like, bring back those characters, those antagonists. We want to see them. We don't want to see a knockoff version of the Tinysauruses. They're called the Fuzzy Ticklies or something like that. So the premise of this episode is that Spike falls down a hole. And I kid you not, half the episode is our heroes trying to figure out how to get Spike out of a hole. They're acting like they don't know what ropes are. So they spend 10 to 12 minutes wondering, how do we get someone out of the hole? Do we dig? Do we just think about the situation? It's really dumb. And the solution at the end is use a rope. The obvious solution that they should have thought of at the very beginning. We do get a new song out of it, so that's good. Mr. Thicknose and Mr. Threehorn sing a song called My Way. I thought that was an okay song, but I just found the situation to be strange because Mr. Thicknose was kind of out of character. Normally, he's a teacher who's helpful and likes to explain, but here he's just really angry and refuses to explain, and it's just him and Mr. Threehorn shouting at each other for most of the time. I was like, that doesn't seem like in character for either of them, really. It's more in character for Mr. Threehorn. He likes shouting, but like, it'd be more in character for Mr. Threehorn to like fight for a minute and then get bored and do what he wants to do anyway, instead of continuing to fight for another 10 minutes. Spike falls down a hole and he reaches this underground cave where we have the Fuzzly Ticklers, who are knockoffs of the Tinysauruses, and they're not funny, they're not interesting, like they have names but no personalities. One of them sounds just like Yakko from the Animaniacs. That was actually more amusing than anything else with these characters. If they did act like the Animaniacs, then this would have been a good episode. But no, they're just kind of boring, dumb characters. They have cutesy wootsy voices, and they sing the song Above, the Mysterious Above. I feel like half the reason they made this episode was so they could reuse that song. In the movie, it's The Mysterious Beyond, but here it's The Mysterious Above. It's a good song, but I wouldn't center a whole episode around reusing that song. Bring back the characters from that movie. That's another, like, those characters, like, magically disappeared at the end of the movie. They could have come back. That could have been interesting, I guess. The alien dinosaurs. Yeah, that was weird. Anyway, Tickly Fuzzlies are idiots, and part of the problem with this episode is that Spike is the one dealing with them, and Spike doesn't talk. He doesn't even seem to know they're there. He's just going around eating food, which is a typical Spike joke, but you can't expect that to carry the entire episode. It's like 10 minutes of Spike just eating and burping while these characters dance around him, and he doesn't notice them. They think that Spike is God who has come down from heaven in order to dispense wisdom, and so they do stuff like, Spike, oh wise one, share your wisdom with us, and then Spike burps, and they're like, oh, he is so smart and wise, we love you, God. It's kind of a mean-spirited critique of religion, and Spike defeats the evil monster that's bothering them. It's not an evil monster, it's this really tiny dinosaur, and Spike beats it up without realizing it's there. That was a decent joke. Also the joke of Spike, like, having grass on his head like a wig. That was also a decent joke. So it wasn't a total waste, but still, it was awful. It was really bad. It would have been better if Sarah had been the one who fell down the hole, because she can actually talk to characters and interact with them. Yeah, that could have worked. So overall, bad episode. Would not recommend it. The Hermit of Black Rock is an okay episode. It's another Guido episode. Guido, you might remember him. He talks like this from, he was in that one movie with the flying and the wings, and he's not really good at flying, but he's really trying, Petrie, so you gotta help him out a bit. I mean, come on. Oh. Guido is a little annoying, but I think he was less annoying here than he was in his movie. I remember just, like, being really mad at Guido in his movie. And here, he's okay, probably because, you know, we only get 20 minutes of Guido as opposed to like having 90 minutes of Guido. So that helps a lot. That helps a lot. Also, the scenes with Guido and Petrie are really well animated. Guido moves in interesting ways, especially the feathers on his back. I don't know why the animation is really good in this particular episode. Maybe it's because they've only got 2 characters for the majority of the episode, because that's most of the episode is just Petrie and Guido together. And it's got to be easier to draw that than to draw 8 characters in every single scene, right? So Guido and Petrie get trapped by some strong wind, and they get blown into a cave. And they're lost in the cave and pretty scared. They sing a song called Don't Be Scared, which is Big, Big Water with new lyrics. The lyrics mention singing and the tune. So I'm wondering, is this the first time they've acknowledged that they sing a lot in this series? Because that's interesting, yeah. It leads to awkward questions like, okay, how did Guido learn the tune to this song? Does everybody take music lessons from Mr. Thicknose? Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, they're trapped in the cave for a while. Petrie's arm is hurt, or his wing is hurt, one of the two, so he can't just fly back home and end the episode. No, they're stuck here because he's hurt. Guido's also hurt his leg, so he can't just walk away because, again, that would end the episode early. So they wander the caves as well as they can. They meet a blind flyer named Swooper, and they make friends with him. He's kind of crazy because he talks to rocks. He agrees to fly them back home as long as they guide him. They tell him where to go because he can't see anything. Partway through the journey, he gets too tired and needs to rest. So Petrie, the solution is they get Guido to jump off his back, and Guido has to get enough self-confidence to be able to fly by himself, even though he really doesn't want to, but he's got to do it for Swooper, okay? And it works just fine. Guido is now great at flying, and Swooper can now just glide instead of having to flap his wings constantly. They go back to the Great Valley, and everybody's happy. They sing, "Feel so happy, I want everyone to see," but completely different lyrics. So our adventure is at an end. And pretty good, actually. So this is probably the best I probably could have hoped for a Guido episode, because I don't really like Guido. And, you know, I feel like I complained too much about Petrie in this and the video where I reviewed every single Land Before Time movie. But, yeah, he's pretty good in this one, too. So, even though this is a premise I don't like, okay, 20 minutes of just Petrie and Guido by themselves? No, thank you. Actually ended up being a decent episode. So it was better than the previous episode, the Mysterious Above episode. I thought The Amazing Threehorn Girl was a pretty good episode. The premise is that Sarah saves her friends from some crocodiles. They're called belly draggers in this episode. And she mostly saves them by luck. Like, Sarah's kind of cowering in fear when she bumps up against the wall, and then rocks fall in a perfect place to scare away the crocodiles. But her friends didn't really see what happened. They think that she's this brave hero who saved them, and so they spread the word throughout the valley. Sarah's a hero! She's a great hero! And her dad really pressures her to brag in front of everybody else. He's like, "No, Sarah, tell them you're a great hero." She tries to tell the truth, and he keeps interrupting with things like, "Well, we don't want to hear about your friends. They ran away. Tell them about how you fought those belly draggers." And so after a lot of pressure, Sarah starts lying about what really happened. And everybody's super amazed, and they keep forcing her to tell the story over and over and over again. And she really gets into it and really starts lying. So this is kind of a standard story I've seen before. Like, somebody pretends to be a hero and they're exposed as a fraud because the belly draggers come back. Sarah is forced to admit she actually doesn't know how to fight off giant crocodiles, everybody gets mad at her for being a terrible liar, and they sing an angry song. It's an interesting song. Both songs in this episode are interesting because they're sung by adults, and not adults with names. So this apparently is the first and only time we have no kids singing in this episode. It's all characters we've never met before singing songs, and The Amazing Three-Horn Girl is a pretty good song. I liked it. I didn't like how the story is designed to punish Sarah for being a liar, because it wasn't her idea to lie. She was forced into lying by her friends and her father, and also the crowd that forced her to tell the story over and over and over again. And none of them get the blame. All the blame gets thrown on Sarah for being a dirty liar. But she didn't want to lie. She didn't want to lie. She tried to tell the truth, but she's still getting punished for wanting to tell the truth. I feel like that aspect of the episode did not work well. I did like at the end where her father apologizes. So her father helps fight off the 7 crocodiles who come, and that's a really cool scene. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. And I like how afterwards he apologizes to Sarah. He's like, "No, Sarah, it was my fault. I pressured you. I shouldn't have done that. I should let you be you. And you don't have to pretend to be brave or great or anything, because number one, you're already brave and great. Number two, you'll always be my amazing three-horn girl." I'm like, "Aw, that's sweet." Brings a little tear to my eye. So it's a pretty good episode. Nice to get a Sarah episode. I kind of wish we had a Sarah episode where the premise wasn't, we need to punish Sarah for being a terrible liar. I was like, oh no. But other than that, it's a pretty good episode. Mostly a Sarah episode. Yeah, we don't really get too many stories with the others. Like at one point, it feels like there's going to be a story with Littlefoot and Ruby, contradicting Sarah, getting into a fight with her publicly because she's saying, her story. She's saying, "Oh, they were wimps and they ran away." Yeah. And Ruby's like, hey, she didn't tell that part of the story earlier. She's making us look bad. I thought that was going to be its own separate story, but it is not. Instead, the episode changes stories into Chomper smelling the belly draggers, and so they follow Chomper for a while. Yeah, Chomper stole a story from Littlefoot. That's not good. The Big Long Neck Test was an okay episode. I like the main story with Littlefoot. Littlefoot's father has come back. It's great to see Braun again. He's giving Littlefoot a test, the Big Long Neck Test, to see if Littlefoot has the qualities to be a leader. I think we already know Littlefoot is a great leader. I'm not entirely sure why he needs to get the test right now. It's not like there's a herd of longnecks looking for a leader, but whatever. The test was interesting. There are 3 rounds. Number 1, Littlefoot has to go to the top of a very, very tall mountain. Number 2, he has to solve a series of riddles. So he has to be smart, he has to be strong. Number 3, he has to go across a lava pit, which is very dangerous. And I think he spent the most time on this one trying to figure out a safe way across. He sings a song called Big, Big Long Neck Test, which is the Big, Big Water song. It's just got different lyrics. I didn't think this was a good rendition of the song. I noticed in the credits that we had a different singing voice for Littlefoot in this episode, and that's probably why I thought the song felt a little off. So it turns out that the test is a trick. Littlefoot is supposed to make the decision to not go across the lava pit because it's way too dangerous. So when he decides to give up, Dad's like, "Hooray, you passed! It was a secret test to know when you don't do stupid things." So Littlefoot passed, and now he can be a great leader of a herd someday. I don't know, 15 years from now. He'll take over his dad's herd. Maybe? So I like that. I thought the story was fine. The other storyline I didn't like as much, and that's why I'm kind of on the fence about recommending this episode, because it's kind of annoying that Shorty is just kind of annoying. He's jealous of Littlefoot because he wants to be a big long neck leader. So he lies to the others and says, guess what? I already passed the test. I'm your leader. You've got to do what I say. And that's a sign of a bad leader, being mean and bossy and ignoring everybody else. And he kicks other people out of the group for very little reason. Like, he thinks Chomper is disgusting, so he kicks Chomper and Ruby out. Ducky wants to take a rest, so he kicks Ducky out. Petrie wants to fly ahead to see which pathway is the safer one, so he kicks Petrie out. So, yeah, Shorty is just not a good leader, and most of the episode is him being a jerk to the others, and then complaining he's a terrible leader who ignores them and makes bad decisions. He's trying to lead them to this, like, rock bridge over a waterfall, which does have a cool view, but again, he ignores them when they say, hey, don't get too close to the edge. He falls off the edge and grabs onto a vine, and they have to pull him back up to safety, and he hasn't learned his lesson. He takes the wrong route back home. And at the end of the episode, it's exposed that no, he lied about being a great leader. He definitely will need to wait before he takes the big long neck test, because he's sure to fail because he's a bad leader. I thought it was a good episode. I like the stuff with Littlefoot. I think it was nicely balanced with the stuff with Shorty. I just didn't find Shorty all that interesting, but apparently a lot of people are huge fans of Shorty from the movie number 10, so they were excited to see him come back, and they did like this episode. Me, I just thought Shorty was just kind of annoying and bossy, that's all. But that's the story. He has to be annoying and bossy so we can learn a lesson about being a good leader versus a bad leader, so I really shouldn't complain. I thought The Great Egg Adventure was a good episode. I liked it a lot, which is interesting to say because there's not much in the way of plot. The story is that our heroes find a group of 3 sharp-tooth eggs, and the eggs are dangerously close to the valley, so they pick up the eggs and just walk a long distance away and drop the eggs back down. That way, when the babies hatch, they won't go anywhere near the Great Valley. And along the way, they get chased by the mama sharptooth, who is of the shorter raptor variety. And they have to split up into 3 different groups, and each group kind of goes through a different area. Like, one goes through a little woodsy area, one goes through a dandelion field, and Littlefoot gets the dangerous cliffside area where the egg rolls down a hill. I like this episode because it brings back the 3 bully characters. Oh, yes! The ones from movie number 3, they were definitely on the list of characters that I wanted to see return to the series. Like, I was not excited to see Guido or the lone dinosaur return, but, oh, those 3 bullies, yeah! It's funny because the title is The Great Egg Adventure. I thought it would be the 2 villains from the second movie, but I'm fine with seeing the 3 bullies return. There is a downside, which is the fact that they can't have the 3 bullies and the main characters, because that's just way too many characters to keep track of. So they had to get rid of Spike, Sarah, and Ruby for this episode. So they got rid of 3 of our characters to introduce the 3 bully characters to the group. I think it worked fine. I think the pairings matched well, so I didn't think like anybody was like mismatched or anything. So that was good. Hip is different. He's got a new voice actor. He's got a redesigned design. So he's got a different colored skin, a differently shaped head, and he's a lot shorter now. If you watch the 3rd movie, they make a big deal of the fact that he's big. When you're big, do 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 do. They even sing a song about him being big and strong. And now he's small. He's the same size as Littlefoot. I don't know how he got shrunk. Oh, also he has different eyebrows. Now he's got angry eyebrows, big thick ones, as opposed to his eyes, which were larger and more expressive in the movie. Anyway, he's perfectly fine. He's perfectly fine, even if he looks a little different. It's different enough to kind of throw me off, but not so different that I'm like, I don't like this character, no! So he's fine, and he and Littlefoot kind of have an antagonistic relationship. Even though he was like a good guy at the end of his movie, it makes sense he's a little antagonistic towards Littlefoot. Like, I could see Sarah doing the exact same thing, having the same argument with Littlefoot, saying it's like, Why do we have to move these eggs so far away? Can't we just smash them right now? That would be the easier way to do it, but our characters can't be murderers, okay? That would not be cool for a kid's show. So they just take the eggs a long distance away, and then they drop them, and the babies hatch, and they're very cute. And they sing the song Adventuring on the way home, and that was nice. The other song was We Must Be Brave. We Must Be Brave, which is the same tune as We Must Believe. That song that we've heard like 6 times already. It was fine. Good singing. It was just mostly exciting to see these characters return, and I think the episode made good use of them. This is technically the last episode of the series, even though it didn't air last. This was the last episode they did. So it's a little weird. The big finale to the series is an episode without Sarah, Spike, or Ruby in it, but hey, what you gonna do? March of the Sand Creepers is a hard episode to judge because it's got some good stuff and it's got some bad stuff. I don't know if one outweighs the other. I didn't like the main storyline with Ducky or Spike. Both of those were repetitive. The premise is that a bunch of crabs are now in the Great Valley. There's like 100 crabs in the Great Valley, and the animation looks a little off. You could tell they were animated differently than all the other characters, so it looks a little weird to see them together. It doesn't quite work. Ducky wants to protect them. She wants to prevent them from being stepped on by all the other dinosaurs. So she spends most of the episode like trying to guide them into safe places and telling the other dinosaurs, stay away! Do not step on them! No, no, no! Do not go here! And that's just the entire episode. She does that once, twice, 3, probably 4 or 5 times. I'd say like 10 minutes of just her repeating the basic premise of trying to get these crabs to safety. And I thought it was boring because it's basically the same thing every single time. Very repetitive. Both the songs in the episode are from Ducky. So she sings Remembering, only the lyrics are changed to Getting Crabs to Fall Asleep. And she sings Good Times, Good Friends, only the lyrics are changed, so they're about not stepping on crabs. Spike's storyline similarly went nowhere. There was a crab that pinched him on the nose. Spike got mad. That's it. They repeated that 3 or 4 times. I thought it was going to go somewhere. Like, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? The exact same thing? Really? So that wasn't good. I did not like the main storyline with Ducky and Spike. Sorry. But the other storyline, maybe this was supposed to be the main storyline, is the other characters. About a third of the way through the episode, they decide to find out where all the crabs came from, so they follow the trail to reach a lagoon. A lagoon that was recently like flooded with lava, and it's like it was a week ago that it was flooded with lava, and now the lagoon is back to normal and it's safe for the crabs to return. But there's an old crab there by the name of Scuttle, and he talks like a pirate, and he likes telling these old sailor stories, which are really annoying. And I did not like him at first. He's kind of, well, mean and annoying, and he bothers the kids. He also, like, gives a bunch of unruly demands to them. He's like, okay, I'll go with you to the Great Valley and bring all the crabs back if you get me some food. And they do that. And then the next time he's like, you need to get me food from the whirlpool. It's a very dangerous whirlpool. Like, that's a big cliffhanger. Sarah almost dies in the whirlpool. I hope he wasn't trying to kill her. And then the next time, he's like, no, I need a pile of food this high. And it's clear he's just making up more and more outlandish demands because he doesn't want to go to the Great Valley. And I thought this, at first I thought it was annoying, but then I thought it worked well because it had rising action. Like, his demands kept getting more and more outrageous. It was a trajectory. It wasn't him doing the same thing over and over and over again. It was actually building to something, unlike the stuff with Spike and Ducky. So Also, Sarah's reactions were hilarious. That was like halfway through, Sarah has so many hilarious over-the-top reactions to Scuttle because she really doesn't like him. That's what won me over. It's like, you know, every time he makes more outrageous demands, she has a bigger reaction. And that was funny. And eventually at the end, she's like, okay, you're coming with us or I'm going to squish you flat. She doesn't say quite that, but she basically forces him to come along, and she's like, see, Littlefoot, I told you sometimes you gotta stick up for yourself. So I did like Sarah in this episode. I did like at the very end of the episode where he's trying to pester them again, and Sarah just flips him on his back. And he can't do anything because he's a crab. He's a crab on his back. So yeah, they bring him home, and he tells all the other crabs that it's time to go home using the... You know, they can't talk. They can only use snapper claws. Maybe that's the problem with this episode. Maybe if the crabs actually talked instead of just the one crab, then I would prefer the story with Ducky and Spike. But, yeah. So, like I said, it's hard for me to decide whether I would say it's a good episode or a bad episode. It's got good stuff. It's got some bad stuff. Yeah. I thought The Forbidden Friendship was a good episode. It's another episode where they're doing a sequel to a movie, and I like that. This is the sequel to movie number 8, The Big Freeze. So it's winter time, there's snow all over the ground. The animation was impressive. I don't know how hard it is to animate characters walking in snow and leaving footprints, but it looks difficult and impressive, so I thought that was good. This is the one with Tippy. So Tippy comes back. Tippy is the small pink stegosaurus with the eyelashes. And Tippy is voiced by a woman, even though Tippy is a boy. Different voice actor than the original movie. So Tippy's back. Tippy loves Spike and playing with Spike. And things seem good at the start. But then Mr. Threehorn gets into a fight with the leader of the Spike Tails. I do like the premise that we've got other Stegosauruses for Spike to interact with. I wish they did that with all the other characters. Like, Petrie's got a bunch of different flyers to interact with, like Guido. Littlefoot meets other longnecks, but Sarah doesn't really get to meet other threehorns. No, not her. And Ducky doesn't really get to meet other swimmers either. I guess you could include Mo as a swimmer, but they kind of forgot about the swimming aspect towards the end of the episode. The big ending of the episode is that Spike and Tippy fall into water. Grandpa Longneck saves Spike, but Tippy is drowning. Tippy can't swim, so Ducky swims in the water to help save Tippy. And then the adults, they all reach down to grab her. They basically form a chain to reach. And Ducky's mom is at the end of the chain. I'm like, Ducky's mom is great at swimming. Why doesn't she just jump into the water and save the little kid? That's what Ducky did. Like, Ducky's mom could conceivably lift Tippy because she's large enough, whereas Ducky is way, way smaller than Tippy. So I thought that was a strange ending, but it does teach everybody the lesson that they need to get along and be nice and share and work together. Going back to the start of the episode, they don't get along and share, and it's Mr. Threehorn's fault. He does not like sharing. He gets mad at the leader of the Stegosauruses, and that was actually pretty funny to see Mr. Threehorn go up against somebody who is basically his twin. They're basically shouting and being angry at each other, and then they try getting into a headbutting competition, but they get stuck. So that was kind of funny. So, because the adults get into a big fight because they don't think there's enough food to go around because all of the snow is still melting. There's still not a lot of food around. So I feel like if the Stegosaurus had shown up like a week later, this wouldn't be a problem. But it is now. So Spike and Tippy need to play in secret. So they're both disobeying their mothers. Ooh! And while they're disobeying and playing with each other, they do find this little hidden area with plenty of food for everyone. And this leads to the dilemma of, do they tell the adults? Because if they do, they'll get in trouble because they were playing with each other. Similarly, Ducky has a dilemma. She sees them. She's like, okay, well, Spike shouldn't disobey our parents, but I don't want to be a tattletale and get him in trouble. What do I do? And she sings Remembering, but the lyrics are about this dilemma. And I don't think this version of the song is the best, because instead of saying, remembering, I do, and I'm like, no, you need a 4-syllable word there. Although it's very much like Ducky to say, I do, yeah. The other song is Good Times, Good Friends, which is kind of sung by Spike and Tippy, but not really. It's more the main cast. And they sing it at the very beginning to say, hey, Tippy's great, Tippy's back. It's nice to see Tippy again. So I think that's all I have to say about this episode. It's a perfectly fine episode. I liked it. I thought it was good. There's an actual dilemma going on for the multiple characters. Sarah, of course, tries to tattletale to her dad, but she has a change of heart and decides not to. That was just so we could have a cliffhanger, so people will tune in after the commercial break. Return to Hanging Rock was an okay episode. I kind of got distracted by my phone and wasn't paying that much attention. The premise is good. We get to meet Ruby's parents for the first time. I like that. There's basically a meteor shower, and Ruby remembers that when she was younger, she and her family made a promise that during meteor showers, they'd hide in a place called Hanging Rock where it's safe. So Ruby thinks, I've got to go back to the mysterious beyond and meet my parents at Hanging Rock, because that's where her parents and family are going to be. I like the idea of finally meeting her parents and family. That's good. So she goes off. She tries to go off by herself, but Ducky, Spike, and Chomper insist on going with her. She doesn't really want them to go, and she gets kind of mad at them because they'll just slow her down. I feel like she's also getting mad at them because she just doesn't know the way to Hanging Rock, and so she's taking out her frustrations on them. But this leads to a storyline at the end where she realizes, hey, wait a minute, her friends are sort of like her family because they love her and care for her just as much as her parents. Her parents, who basically abandoned her, left her all by herself. Yeah, I'd say her friends are nicer than her parents. I mean, her parents aren't mean in this episode. Oh, this episode gives a different reason for why Ruby's in the Great Valley. So Ruby says, Chomper and I are still trying to learn how to save the mysterious beyond from Red Claw. Red Claw actually appears in this episode. So Red Claw, this is like his only appearance in the second half of the series. I don't know why Red Claw was like in a lot of episodes at the start and then just this episode in the second half. I don't know. But yeah, if Ruby's mission is learning how to defeat Red Claw with Chomper, why does Chomper need to be part of the mission? I don't know. And number two, what is she doing to accomplish this mission? Because it still feels like her parents just abandoned her in the Great Valley. And yeah, she's having a great time with Littlefoot and friends, but she's not really learning how to defeat Red Claw. Red Claw actually does show up and kind of chase them around a bit, but they manage to escape because a bunch of fires start due to the meteors. There's also a cute character named Skip, who is, I don't know how to describe it, sort of like an opossum, except brown, like a beaver, except not, just a character like that. I thought he was better than the Tickly Fuzzlies in the Above the Mysterious Above episode, that's for sure. Skip had more character and was more interesting looking. So Skip also, like Ruby, wants to be by himself, but he manages to get saved by Ruby and the friends at the end. That's nice. And Ruby's pleasantly surprised when her other friends show up to help save them from the fires. This episode, oh my gosh. So Ruby starts... There are two songs, like normal. The first song is... I don't know the title, but it's... Well, it can't be that memorable if I'm completely forgetting it. No, it's the Lone Dinosaur song, but the lyrics are all about meteorites, if you can believe it. That was weird, sung by Mr. Thicknose. And then the other song is Feel So Happy. Ruby starts singing Feel So Happy because she's with her family. They're reunited. And partway through the song, Red Claw just interrupts. And they don't get to finish the song. I'm like, what? Did they just interrupt the song with a T-Rex attack? Crazy! So, yeah, it was an okay episode. I wish there could have been a lot more with Ruby's parents and family. Instead, the final third of the episode was mostly about getting getting away from the fire, and Red Claw as opposed to actually getting to meet these characters who I'm interested in meeting. So, yeah, still, it's an okay episode. Search for the Sky Color Stones is an okay episode, I guess. I wouldn't say it's good. I wouldn't say it's bad either. It's somewhere in the middle. The premise is that the kids love rainbows, so they want to find rocks that look like rainbows. You know, the rocks that you break in half and it looks like they've got rainbow pebbles inside. That's kind of a weak premise for an episode, I guess. They split up into two groups. So Littlefoot, Petrie, and Chomper search by the water, and Chomper gets distracted by bees while Petrie gets annoyed. And that's it. There's not a whole lot going on. The other group, they're looking for the stones. They accidentally fall into a cave, but that's good because that's where Sarah wanted them to search. Sarah and Ruby get a little competitive about who's going to find the Sky Color Stones first, which is kind of unfair because Sarah's like the only one who's seen them before. So, like, she's the only one who would be able to recognize them. Spike manages to find one first. Hooray. And Ducky gets a little greedy when she sees it. So they move on to the next part of the cave. The entrance is too small. Spike gets stuck. And Ducky's like, oh, Spike, I'll help you. Wait a minute. If I don't help you, I can steal those sparkly stones first. I'm not going to say that Ducky becomes cartoonishly evil, but she does look angry and mean, and she's very selfish and greedy in this episode. So she basically abandons Spike, and she lies to her friends with lies like, oh, there are no sparkly sky color stones here. Why don't you look over there? She creates a big secret stash, and she just kind of gloats over them. She sings a song about how much she loves them. They also sing a song about finding the sky color stones. And they're both songs we've heard like 7 times throughout the series. One is just like the emotional song, we must be brave, that song. And then the other one was, we are finding stones, sky color stones. So both those songs, like, at least 6 times already. I have nothing to say about them besides we've heard them a lot. And I really feel like there wasn't a good enough resolution to Ducky being mean and greedy. Like, her friends find she's got a secret stash, and they're like, wow, Ducky, you're being kind of mean here. And the stash falls off a cliff. Ducky has to decide whether she wants to fall off the cliff after them or be safe. She makes the right decision. She wants to be safe. So I guess she kind of learns a lesson about not being greedy and mean. And they help Spike get out. And that's the end of the episode. Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Just they look for stones. Ducky is uncharacteristically mean and greedy. But it's kind of interesting to see her acting differently. And it doesn't really go anywhere. Just we learn not to be greedy and mean, which I feel like all the characters knew at the start of the episode already.
I remember Through the Eyes of a Spike Tail being one of the best episodes of the series, and I have to say, it's really good.
Okay, I'll stop doing that voice. Spike talks in this episode. This is the episode where Spike talks for a decent chunk of the episode. And it's great to hear Spike's voice. I thought it's super hilarious how, we see things through Spike's eyes, right? That's the title of the episode. So whenever he's listening to the others, they're all talking in groans and grunts, just like Spike usually does. So Littlefoot and Sarah will be like, I just thought it was funny. It was great to hear Spike. Spike gets both songs to himself, so he gets to sing adventuring. And then, the other song's remembering, but it's, the lyrics are changed, so they're about,
I want them all to follow me.
Oh wow, that's not the tune at all. But you get the idea. He wants the others to follow him. So Spike can actually hear tree sweets, like he's hearing a song, this little musical cue that indicates there are new tree foods to be eaten. And he basically wants to spend the entire episode following the sound that nobody else can hear and finding the tree sweets. And that makes sense. That makes sense. The premise is that the kids are looking for cold or hard water sweets, I think it's called. Mr. Thicknose and Mr. Threehorn get into a big fight again over whether or not these special treats exist. So the kids are trying to find them using the instructions they got. But Spike, he's just following his nose, or following the music, as it were. And it's just funny that, like, to see the others fight, and Spike's like,
they're going the wrong way.
and you know they're trying to criticize. They like criticize Spike for wandering off, but no, he actually knows what's going on, and he's not getting distracted with pointless arguments. So they find the tree sweets. It's a bit of an adventure going through like the gusty canyon and through a cold waterfall, and at the very top of this high mountain covered with snow, Spike finds them, but the others don't. They're not paying attention to Spike, so they actually get caught in an avalanche and slide down. Spike has to save them, and he sings his song while leading them back up to the mountain, to where the tree sweets are. And I was kind of worried they would eat all the tree sweets. They have to bring them back to show to the adults, and they do. And Mr. Threehorn is forced to find a bunch of food for them, as he promised, because he promised, oh, you find them, I'll give you all the tree sweets I can find. So nice of him to keep his promise, I guess. And the characters end by saying, oh, maybe we should be a bit more like Spike, just kind of cool and relaxed. Not be like an angry reviewer who's like going intense about all these episodes. Just be more relaxed. Everything's chill. Everything's cool, okay? But yeah, no, I love this episode mainly because it's a lot of Spike. I kind of wish there was more Spike in this episode, to be honest. And I feel like if they did do a second season of the show, there probably would have been another Spike episode, because this was good. This was good. It's a good one to end the complete series DVD with. It's great to have Spike get his day in the limelight. Yeah, I'm sad there is no second season of the show. I wonder why the show didn't get renewed for a second season. Was it unpopular? Was it like super expensive to make? Maybe? Don't look at me. I have no idea. So I'm sad. I'm kind of done with The Land Before Time now. I've reviewed all the movies. I played all the games. I could get to work on the computer. And now I've reviewed all the TV episodes. So guess this is it for my adventures through The Land Before Time. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.